Rico's governor, Ricardo Rosselló, has just announced that he will not seek re-election, but he does intend on remaining in office for the remainder of his term. Now, this is in response to mass protests calling for his resignation following news that the island is dealing with mass corruption. They're also very mad about the fact that Rosselló was involved in text messages that had homophobic and other disgusting exchanges, which I'll get to in just a second. We did talk about that on the show earlier last week. Now, just to give you some information on this, he released a statement saying a huge portion of the population is unhappy, and I recognize it. I've heard you. I love the island and people. Today, I have the responsibility to direct my strengths and to find alternatives so that with God, we may be able to move forward. So this is good. He should resign, absolutely. He had a press conference where he tried to explain himself and the text messages he was involved in. No one was buying it. And so it makes all the sense in the world for him to step down. There have been members, people who were in positions of power previously who have been arrested now because of the fact that they took $15 million in government money, federal money, and redirected it to their friends instead of doing the right thing and helping to improve the conditions on the island.
So I was never buying Governor Rosselló from the first day that he, I don't know why I'm being polite here, but seemed to be appeasing Donald Trump. Right after the hurricane hit, Trump was there and he's constantly applauding him and complimenting him. Look, I get it. If you don't, he won't give you any money. And so in a sense, if you were a good guy, you'd be taking a bullet for the people by kissing, all right, I'll say it, kissing Donald Trump's ass, right? But it didn't feel that way. In watching it, it seemed like he was, like the San Juan mayor was on fire, right? But Rosselló would constantly say, yes, sir, maybe we have another sir, please, sir, yes, sir. No matter what Trump did and no matter how much he insulted Puerto Rico and no matter how much he kept funds away from Puerto Rico, et cetera. So I always had questions about him. And then, but onto the corruption, it's totally unsurprising, but I am annoyed at one significant thing here. Okay, $15 million given to your friends and political allies in the form of government contracts.
Isn't that what we do all the time?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We give trillions of dollars to the political allies and friends of politicians in America. Why aren't they being protested around the clock? I mean, and so like it makes it seem like, oh wow, Puerto Rico is so corrupt. $15 million is child's play. The American politicians are literally 1,000 times, 100,000 times more corrupt. Lindsey Graham gives away trillions of dollars to defense contractors and the military-industrial complex and brags about it. And why? Because he gets money from them, gets campaign donations, independent expenditures. Trump does the same, Mitch McConnell, and a lot of Democrats too. Dianne Feinstein does it.
Yes.
So is Feinstein and Graham less corrupt than Rosselló? No way. I would argue they're more corrupt.
I mean, look at what's happening with the education department under Betsy DeVos and how she has basically done all sorts of favors for her for-profit college friends. I mean, so many favors that those for-profit college executives are now serving in the education department. So yeah, this corruption is part and parcel of how government is run in America these days. And so you're absolutely right about that. What made the story, I guess, for some worse was the fact that these text messages between Rosselló and other, politicians were leaked. And so just to give you an example, in one of the messages, he reportedly referred to former New York City Assembly Speaker Melissa Mark Vivitrito, who is politically close to San Juan Mayor Cruz as whore. So he called women whores. In another message, the Puerto Rico governor mocked the fiscal oversight board established by Congress to oversee the territory's finances. Dear oversight board, go F yourself, he wrote. And it goes on and on. There were other things, there were homophobic things that he wrote in there as well. And so people were already angry, they were already protesting, but this was more fuel to the fire.
Anything he said that was worse than Donald Trump? So, I mean, Donald Trump has said way worse things and is far, far more corrupt. I mean, Donald Trump ran a charity that wasn't a charity, that paid his legal bills and bought portraits of himself. He ran a fake university so that he would trick unsuspecting people of coming and wasting all of their money and giving them no education at all. They were not accredited, they had to shut it down. And then while in office, I can go on and on and on. So I guess what they're saying is Governor Rosselló was stupid enough to not legalize bribery ahead of time before he did the bribery, or the corruption. Because that's what we did in America. That's exactly what campaign contributions and independent expenditures are. It's absolutely legalized bribery. So we get to criticize the Puerto Rican governor, and I'm glad that he's not gonna run for office again. But none of our politicians get to do that because 90% of them are significantly more corrupt than he is. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.